Your Holiness, Your Beatitudes, Your Highness, dear friends, dear MEPs gathered here, we are very happy to have you here. Of course, this issue is not similar for me like it is for the other MEPs. First of all, I'm not MEP. That's the greatest difference. And second, I am one of your people. So, I have a certain feeling for this situation, of course, the situation of my people, and talking about the security, which is, of course, very, very sensitive. We really do need to know what we say, because throughout of time, we have been experienced when we speak high or loud, so everybody can hear, we just get affected by it very rapidly. We get killed sometimes, persecuted in other times, whether it is about our religion or our human rights. It has always to be very carefully, very silent, mostly among ourselves. So now we have the chance, and I would like to thank the friendship group of the Chaldean Assyrian people in the European Parliament, all of you, and specifically Mr. Loshad Aktuson, giving us this opportunity together with the others, co-hosts, sponsors, to be here and discuss in this platform the future of our people and in the point of view of security. So, throughout history, we know that persecutions, genocides, many different atrocities, we have been facing them. It's part of our day life. And without any real defense mechanism within our group being allowed to defend ourselves, we have always been forced to rely on others, and we have done that. Nevertheless, we have faced persecutions, we have faced genocides, we have faced more or less none human rights or democratical rights in our own homeland, the land of our ancestors, for thousands of years. For the Nineveh Plain, at least 10, or some say not 10, but at least we can say 5,000 years, like in Bartelle, in Baghdad, and villages close by. In the plain, the Dashta of Nineveh, Mosul of today. So, one of the things that happens or occurs when you get oppressed to a certain level that you cannot find yourself accepting this, you go to the diaspora. And we have done that too, many, many, many times. In the beginning, when in the Ottoman Empire, we just moved from one side or one village to next, but now we cannot do that because we end up in another country. It is Turkey, or it's Iraq, or it's Syria. Obviously, we need to move from all this area to the diaspora in Europe, America, and our people now, at least 100 years, have been people in the diaspora, not having their own homeland. And when they have been living in the homeland, of course, they have always felt that they are not even second-degree citizenship, almost third or none. So, political oppressions, with it comes the military oppression, with it comes the low standard of human rights, and of course with no human rights, when you don't regard your neighbor as human, they are then without any dignity at all, and we should not be having this situation. Since Daesh came, we experienced it very, very clear, very rapid, and very alive, and live broadcasted also through Daesh, what they wanted to show the people, to create the fear, the last fear, so the people need to move, because otherwise you will end up dead like this, and we will take your head off. We will have, of course, our own solutions. We have tried, and some of the people here next to me is the one who tried, who started militias with no means, or very, very little, supported by the diaspora, but also from the people on the ground, neighbors who wants to see them succeed and wants to see them still be their neighbors. We are thankful to that, but I would not say any more. I will just like to present Sharbel Hannamati from the representative speaker for the defense units of NPF, and we have Najib Nasser Benyamin, who is political leader of the Syriac Assembly Movement, and we have Mr. Amir Shamoun Musa, NGPF. So very welcome. I would like to very short tell your view on the position papers when it comes to the security level and how you could see how, first of all, maybe you should mention very short about your struggle to become some kind of defense unit for your people, but also being politically malicious at the same time.
Thank you. And hello to you all. So I represent two parties, the Beit Nahrain Democratic Party and the Beit Nahrain Patriotic Union. And we together, we worked to create a common or a joint force. We did that because as Christians in general, we face many issues, and our biggest issue has lasted since 2003 and that biggest issue is that we lack a common joint force that defends our people. The force that used to defend our people, the force that worked hard in order to secure the area, was made up of two parties, the central government and the government of Kurdistan. And there were intra-fights between these two parties. And this was a big problem for us, for our people. We were torn between those two parties, and it was very difficult for us to create our own force in order to defend our people. Now, as of 2014, we decided, in those two parties that I have mentioned, we decided to create a common force. And this common force was known as the Nineveh Plain forces. Those forces included a number of local citizens from the Nineveh Plain. And those forces created by our two political parties were created in order to defend our area. And we created those forces, and ever since we have created those forces, we have been present on the ground in the Nineveh Plain. And we are present in Teleskov and Azkhazar, and we fought against Daesh, against ISIS. And of course, there are other forces present in the area made up of other affiliations or denominations. And we, as the Nineveh Plain forces, we were under the control of the Peshmerga ministry. And our forces included Chaldean, Syriac, and Assyrian members. And ever since our people came under attack, ever since our villages were attacked, we have made every possible effort. We have invested all our capacities in order to defend our homeland. And many people fell, many people were martyred or were injured. And we have worked hard to defend Bartalla, to defend the different churches. And our forces lack capacities. We lack logistical capacities. We don't have enough weapons or arms. We lack many things. However, we have a strong will. And it is thanks to that strong will that we continue to be steadfast, that we are still there, and that we are still defending our homeland. And we, in the Nineveh Plain forces, have tried to cooperate with other forces. We have tried to join our efforts to create unified forces. However, unfortunately, our efforts have not yet borne their fruits. But we hope that in the near future, and we will be able to do so, we hope that this conference will lead to a number of results or decisions, and that one of those decisions will be to unite our forces as Christian forces. In order for us as Christian forces to be able to unite, to be able to defend our homeland, our people, and our future. What do we want? We want to be able to defend ourselves. We want to be able to protect ourselves. This is the only thing that we want. This is what our people want. It is not a political demand. It is just what our people want. Because we were tricked. We were abandoned. We were left without any protection, and our people had to be displaced. They had to leave. And there is a lack of trust, a lack of confidence. And now we have to defend ourselves. We have to protect ourselves. And we have made many efforts in order to unite our forces, and I hope that in the near future we will be able to defend ourselves by ourselves. Thank you.
Mr. Amir Shamon, I would like to hear from you, very short also, a comment maybe of what Mr. Sharbel said, but more, how can you see the future of our people when it comes to defending ourselves?
Thank you very much for giving me the floor and for giving me the opportunity regarding the security in the Nineveh Plain. I will give a very brief overview of MPGF, and after that I will be talking about the future. These forces were established in 2014 by the support of Sarkis Rajan, and it had 2,500 fighters in the north and south of the Nineveh Plain, according to the density of the population in each part. At the very beginning, these forces were defending the churches and were established under this name. But because of the going back on the security and other governorates, and the forces have been subject of assassination, so some of them, of course, immigrated to areas which are well defended. And so our forces, instead of defending the churches, started defending the areas inhabited by the Christians, and it continued that until the ISIL forces came in. They were, of course, dealing this in coordination with the forces on the ground, going in participating in security meetings and or exchanging information with the Nineveh forces. In 2012, we talked with the central government that it could accept these forces under the auspices of the Minister of Interior, but unfortunately this had not been accepted by the central government. So we have talked about the Zirafani, which is part of the Ministry of Interior in Kurdistan, and of course they accepted our demand, and now the umbrella is that the Zirafani forces, while of course having the special needs for our forces, because the autonomous from what is going on, and because, as I said, we have a clear objective, and the number of the forces, of course, from the Christians and only Christians, and we have not received any support from getting weapons from the Zerafani forces. And the most important matter that refers to the autonomy of us, since ISIL entered our region, the Kurdistan Air Force is waging war against ISIL, but we have not participated in that war because our duty is to defend our area only. These forces withdrew after the collapse of the Iraqi army and after, of course, ISIL, of course, dominated the area. And the decision for withdrawal was a wise one because at that time we had only very minor or very little weapons anyway. After that, we have restructured these forces as a military force. They have been trained militarily in the Khabur, Aben Salawa, in the Kurdistan area, and also the international coalition gave us some help. And right now we are dealing in the northern part of the plain. But unfortunately, because of the military boundaries agreed by the Kurdistan and the Central Iraqi government, led to the fact that our forces will be outside our areas. So I'd like to make it clear that we are always trying to make these forces dependent from the political problems. We we have established this force in order to defend the people of the area. We have nothing to do with the other conflicts, and we hope that we will have a new view of these forces so that which will be able to carry out its objective. As for the future vision for the security and military situation in the plain, Nineveh Plain, I think we cannot unite these forces unless there is a political vision and a mature one for different reasons, of course. There are differences in the references. Some forces belong to the central government, where others belong to Kurdistan. But if there is a common vision regarding the political parties and the Christian parties, I think at that time we will be able to unite these forces. For the time being, we think that it is important that we coordinate the efforts of these forces. We are Christian forces in the southern part of Nineveh, but they are not enough to cover all the what is most of them. In some cases, the the situation was not dealt with in a perfect manner because of the small number of the Christian forces. Thank you very much.
Just make a remark. A colleague of mine told me on his way here from Erbil, on the plane it was about 70% of the people, Yazidi people. So the Yazidis are also now going really to the diaspora, also leaving their homelands because the security is not good enough. It's not even secure to be living there. Add to that what you said also and what Mr. Shervel said. I would like to ask you, Mr. Najib, this Berlin Wall or the Nineveh Plain Wall they are building now, could you give us a comment? Because you mentioned obviously you cannot be on all places and equal this side. What would you like to say about this division of the Nineveh Plain, which is military division more than politically today? Please.
In fact, I'm extremely happy to take part in this conference. As for dividing the Nineveh Plain, this is a serious matter, and when we ask about this, we have the answer given that this division was just for a limited period of time because there was an agreement between the government of the region and the central government that the forces will come from 3 areas and in order to liberate the Nineveh Plain. Most people do not accept that it should be divided into 2 parts. I will talk about the security, how can we guarantee security in the Nineveh Plain. The future of the Nineveh Plain, as we have already said, is extremely important for us. This is, of course, where I live, where my parents and my father, grandfathers lived. So many things have taken part, and we have heard a lot about that. We hope that we will find the final solution for the Nineveh Plain. One of the people of this plain, and of course affected. My home was destroyed, like many others. Many people lost their property and were burnt down. So it is extremely important for us to have a future. We have noted that some people of the Nineveh, they called for the Nineveh Plain. It is not for sale. So we are not here to sell or to buy anyone, but we are talking about the future of the Nineveh in a security point of view and political point of view, and that it should be rehabilitated, rebuilt, and so that is people will go back and live in dignity. And all, of course, the infrastructure and education will be taken care of in order to correct all the mistakes made in the past. So I would like to pay tribute to these young people, those who are opposing or those who are supporting the idea, and who, of course, put forward some demands for this conference. And personally, I agree with them, and the Syriac movement is with them because they are our young people, and I think they have a vision for the future of this part. For the security, the guaranteeing security of the Nineveh Plain, I can refer to 4 points in this respect. A secure area, so we will not be a part of the political and military conflicts. We have to build the military forces of the Nineveh Plain. And fourth, rule of law. I will be dealing with these 4 points in detail. First of all, the secure area. We need assistance so that the Syrians and Chaldeans will remain there because they are one of the oldest peoples, like the Yazidis and Shabaka, remain in this Nineveh area because it is really an example of living together in the clan. ISIL, of course, when it occupied the land in 2014, people said we have to find a secure area for these people according to international guarantees, and they will be put under the United Nations Peace Force.
Fear, sorry for that, but you don't go too much in details because we have already trespassed our time. So actually, this was the session ending, but I will give you some more minutes, but not go too much in details.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, now.
Hassanan, yes, thank you. Well, I will be very brief. I will try to sum up. In a study for 5,000 displaced people, they said most of them are not prepared to go back to area unless there are international guarantees and international protection. This is for international protection. People are afraid because they might go through the same problems. Secondly, to remove this area from the political problems, most analysts see that the conflict in this area could continue for a long period of time, even after the defeat of ISIL. This, of course, could happen between the two governments, or the central one and the regional one, because Article 140 of the Constitution refers to this area as under conflict. Some people support that, and some people oppose that. So, some people of this area do not accept that, and they should have self-rule. The former governor said that we are trying to have a referendum for the people here after the liberation from ISIL, and the competition will be between us so that we can, of course, convince the minorities if they want to belong to Mosul or to the plain. There are so many different viewpoints, of course, and this, of course, these conflicts will go on for a long time, and it might be difficult to find a solution for it, and it will be very costly for all those from. And this, of course, will have an impact on the security of the area. And we, of course, we do not wish that, but we hope that these conflicts will not continue and will find a solution. We have to focus on dialogue and be very wise in order to find a solution for these conflicts. Thirdly, building the military forces of the people of this area that should be trained and they should be equipped and should be, of course, part of the national security forces. And of course, they have to defend this area in particular. We have to do away with all the militias which are not helping this case. There should be coordination with all the forces, regardless of their name, so that we can have security in the Nineveh Plain. The trust of the people of Nineveh should be very high in the forces, and this, of course, will be a factor that will help find security. The law should be, of course, respected by all. The rule of law should be respected by all. Many military forces with their arsenals in different villages mean that there is no security at all in this area. So we hope that one day we will live in peace and freedom and without any military force. This will be our hope and will be the beginning for security and living in peace and will be a bright future for us and for our children, because we have lost that for a number of years. We hope that we'll go back to our area and to rebuild it, and we will fight for that. Thank you very much.
Part of our advocacy has been to raise the issue of security. And in this, we have been challenged many times in the following way: you should not give guns to Christians, because then the situation gets worse. I challenge everybody to think about worse than ISIS. I think we will have a hard time to get there. We should end the imposed pacifism on these people that makes them victims instead of citizens. Security and being part of your own security are human rights, constitutional rights, also in Iraq. And we should end this view of the Chaldean Syriac Assyrian people as a peaceful people that just have to suffer the persecution and cannot defend themselves. This has to end. This has to end. This is my message to the Christian world and the Western world in general. We need to think of the Chaldean Syriac Assyrian people as people like you and me who need security. And we need to stand up and to tell our governments that these people need to be part of their own security and that they have this right just like their neighbors. If we give guns to Kurds, Arabs, that's okay. Also to Chaldean Syriac Assyrians, within, of course, constitutional and legal frameworks and clear chains of command. That's for sure. But if there is this clear framework, then these people should no longer be excluded. We see this in Iraq, we see this in northern Syria and the Syrian Democratic Forces. This attitude is destroying these minorities, these people. And this has really, really to end if we don't want to end up with having these people ended by this imposed pacifism. Thank you.
One of the major struggles the political parties has in front of them is to unify in this matter, because these militias are obviously political parties. United force or defense for the Nineveh Plain, along with the other minorities who accept coexistence and peaceful way of living together. That would be my last word, and thank you very much for having us.